Good morning. I want to talk to you today about trends as I see them, about what's happening out there, about how to think about the future, and I'm talking about 7 things you need to do right now to stay competitive in the high-velocity economy. I want to try and put a little bit of perspective on some of the change that is occurring out there with your customers, with the infrastructure that will impact your stores, with the trends that are impacting the perception of your brand. This is the world I live in. This is the world I'm talking to my clients about. How do we scale? How do we innovate? How do we achieve change when things are evolving at lightning speed? Rupert Murdoch, the media magnate, he observed it perfectly. The world is changing very fast. It's changing so fast. There's so many things going on from so many different perspectives that the reality going forward at this point in time, it isn't necessarily the big organizations who will own and win and control the future. It is the fast, it's the agile. It's those who can change. It's those who can keep up with very rapid change and ingest that change. The high velocity economy demands that we do, demands that we think, demands that we collaborate, demands that we share, demands that we innovate in different ways. It demands that we look at the future and constantly ask ourselves, given the rapid rate of change which is coming at us, how do we ingest that future? So the big question for you and what you need to think about over the next 3 days, how do innovators stay out in front? How do you stay ahead of very fast-paced change? Well, I think number one, I think you've got to get beyond the current moment. I think you need to get beyond where we are today. And I think the big question for everybody in the room is, when do we begin to innovate? Do we begin, once we're out of this economic challenge? Do we begin once we're comfortable that we're through, the difficult times that we're seeing around the world? Or do we make the conscious decision right now, each and every one of us, that we are going to focus on the future from this point on? We're going to innovate and be ready for when we see that headline. I was talking at one event in October as the meltdown was beginning to occur, and the CEO was on stage, and part of his message was, look, given what's happening, we have 3 choices. Number 1, we can panic. Number 2, we can do nothing. Or number 3, we can continue to innovate, change, and adapt. You know what I like in what we're going through this period of time? I call it the 7 stages of economic grief. When you lose a loved one, you go through a bereavement process. You go through the stages of grief. You go through the anger stage, you go through the denial phase. And eventually, after a period of time, you get to the acceptance stage. You think about the rate at which these developments unfolded. I think a lot of us, for the last several months, we've been in the absolute shock phase. We're looking at our investments, we're in the anger stage. We're looking at our investments, we're in the denial stage. And what is happening within a lot of organizations, we're all like, in North American phrase, we're like deer in the headlights. We're standing here frozen. We don't know what to do next. We turn on CNN and it is a constant bombardment of negative news. When do we innovate? We have to make a conscious decision right now. And that's why you're having this conference right now, to focus on growth, to focus on future, to focus on opportunity. It's a conscious decision to move aggressively right into the acceptance stage, and we're going to start innovating for the future because we know we will see that economic recovery headline at some point in time in the future, because we are going to be part of the people who are going to build the economic recovery. You notice what Intel has done? Intel has made the conscious decision that they are going to invest $7 billion in building new plant infrastructure. Building new chip plant infrastructure, because their conscious decision is, we're going to build for growth. We're going to make the conscious decision that we are going to be a driver of that growth. Innovative organizations today are focused on opportunity.